Sometimes life is yikes.
And that's okay. You're not alone. Welcome to Yikesland. Hello and welcome to Yikesland. I am your host, Chris Fung, and I'm here with my co-host.
Enjoying those views, it's Jelani Hoon.
And we are here to talk to you so cheerily about depression and mental illness.
Yay!
And coping with and living with that. It's very cold out today, but we are still here bringing you those good views.
Yep.
Very horrifying. How's the cold doing for you?
It is chilling me to the bone, if you will. So, Yikesland here, the Yikesland podcast, is experiencing a hectic weather system coming through, and it's bringing the depression so hard because we're trapped inside. So,
I feel like it is fine because life is hellish anyway, so this doesn't make a huge difference for me.
We're part of Yikesland anyway, so like, hey, let's make it cheery and snowy, right?
If you would like to find us on the ether, on the internet,
Out there,
I don't know.
The internet,
You can find us on Twitter at Yikesland, on Facebook at Yikesland, on Instagram at Yikesland_podcast. Or shoot us an email at yikesland@gmail.com. That way you don't have to leave your house or even your bed to talk to us.
That's right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on the Yikesland podcast. It is our kind of like weekly therapy session with us talking to each other and hopefully relating to you guys out there. So thank you so much for joining us here at Yikesland. Let's start the podcast out with how we always start. How are you doing?
I am good. Actually good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's good.
I think that because it is considered terrible outside, it's like probably about -15 right now out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Spoilers on what day we're recording this.
Which, depending on where you're from, could be horrifyingly cold or not a big deal. But for us, it's considered cold here. So because of that, it's like a fun alternate reality day for me, where like the bank is closed and that seems like a big deal and stuff. So like, it's almost like everyone, all the regular people have to live in Yikesland today. Yeah. And I'm like, haha, I already studied to be here.
Yeah. Can't go to the bank because can't muster up the power to do it. Well, haha, the world has cut you off from it already anyways. So hopefully you're prepared for it.
It's like a fun excuse to be inside and a fun excuse to be openly miserable, you know?
Yeah. I mean, on an update with your Jelani over here, I've been doing okay, not too bad, you know. As I've stated on the previous episodes, I've been trying to 2019 stay positive, going into my battle with my mental illness that I have, and I'm just trying to make it to each Tuesday with you guys. And, that's what we're doing here. What about you? What is your updates for 2019 for you? As Chris Fung, part of Yikesland, what is the updates so far in 2019? Where has your journey brought you?
Well, to go back to my New Year's resolutions that I had talked about a couple episodes ago, I've been doing, I guess they weren't, I don't know if this was a resolution or I think this was technically an inspiration is how I had phrased it before. Okay. But I have been doing good being inspired by my stuffed sheep, who's just a really positive guy. Genuinely thinking about like what would he think has like created this little safe segment off in my brain that's like, because I think of myself, because I've been depressed so long, I tend to think of myself as like, oh, you're just a mentally ill person that's always going to be sad and think sad things. And it's become a part of my identity, which I've talked about before. But having this like separate identity that is a stuffed pretend sheep is like a cool mental trick where it's like a place where it's safe to be just unwaveringly positive for no reason.
Yeah.
And so it's good for me to have that voice to balance out. So that's been good. And then I think I had formally made a resolution to go back to therapy. So I did call my old therapist, who was probably one of the only good therapists I've ever had. I did call and leave a message, and he sent me an email. And now we are courting. No, but like in a
You're
therapist way. It always kind of feels like starting to date when you meet a new therapist because of how you might break up, you know? Like you have to kind of work together and gel, and they have to, you know, because it's their job to pretend to care about your feelings and stuff like that. But you also sort of want things to go smoothly where you feel like you can trust them, so that even during the hard times or when you cry in front of them, which for me is all the time, you feel safe doing it. So like it always kind of, there's something similar to that, to like the idea of going on a first date almost, to me, except you don't have a crush on them, or you shouldn't have a crush on them.
You shouldn't have a crush on them, because the ethics and everything like that with it. But yeah, so it's good that you're taking steps, you know, towards that then.
So working on that.
You've been feeling good and everything
yeah,
like that,
the
so
scheduling will probably be the hardest thing, and or the thing that allows me to be like making excuses. So I am saying that to prevent myself from making excuses, because now I've said it on a podcast. So now I can't fall into the weakness trap that I have set up for myself.
Yeah, you don't want that at all. Yeah. Updates 2019 for Jelani. I forgot what I had stated for myself as my like resolutions, because who follows them anyways? I think I might have said I was going to go back to the gym. I did not.
Here's the thing.
I'm still paying for it too, but I'm not going.
Hot tip on the New Year's resolution thing. For me, I've always enjoyed the double New Year of having Lunar New Year come up.
Okay.
And so that way, by the time it's like late January, early February, and I have started becoming weak about my resolutions, I'm like, here's the thing. Second New Year is coming up, and it's time for me to start again.
Oh.
I think usually by the second, like by Lunar New Year, then I have learned enough about the ways that I will make excuses or make mistakes about my resolution that the Lunar New Year opportunity is like a chance for me to fix that and tell myself I'm starting over. Because I mean, it doesn't have to be a new year to make changes, but I think that it's a really helpful mental trick for a lot of people, right? So I just cheat and take a second New Year opportunity, even though it's not like it's part of Chinese culture to do some sort of Lunar New Year resolutions. Yeah, I mostly just get red pocket money, but like for me, I cheat and make it like second New Year and double down on my resolutions and all that stuff. Or if some of them aren't working for me, I'll drop them and then like just focus on the good ones, stuff like that.
But I mean, sure, physical part, not so much working for me, but the positive thinking of what I'm trying to do, it's been a little tricky, but I can say that I am feeling okay. Not like, I mean, of course I'm still dealing with a lot of like sluggishness, the depression, and the norms that I've come to be used to right now with the depression. And I can say that I've tried to be more positive in my thinking, be more assertive in things that I'm trying to do, and no longer trying to like distance myself from everything. So like I'm avidly trying. There's still some hesitation on like things of like, oh, it's not. I fall back into the thinking trap of like, oh, it's not going to work, or you're not going to be able to do it, this and that, blah blah blah. And so I find myself like really trying like to will myself through certain things, and I feel like it's only the start of the year, and I feel like that it's aiding right now, and hopefully it actually continues to move forward with positive results for me, at least get me to a manageable level. So there's that. Yeah. what about you? Do you have any topics for this week here on the Yikesland podcast?
Well, we did have something come up recently so obviously, Jelani and I talk outside the podcast.
Forbidden. Ooh, Yikesland.
But don't worry, we record all of those too for future episodes. No.
Exactly.
But
all
so
the get from us.
yeah, we had quite the bloops at the beginning of
So many bloops
this
in
episode,
Yikesland.
which is fun because I think a lot of times like when you're depressed, you feel like your picture of depressed people is that they like don't laugh very much. And a thing that I treasure about you is that you're a depressed person who laughs very much, often at your own misfortune, which is fun.
Wrong. Is that in heart?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
It's like a triangle.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But so that was a good, like, it feels good to laugh chemically even, and that makes you feel better. So that was a nice start to my day.
Trying. I try to fill the void of sorrow that I have within me with laughter, and sometimes it laughs back at you. But but continue.
So we were talking outside of the podcast about some sort of like, we were both feeling like we were doing better and trying, because 2019 is been full of trying so far, and working on positivity. And I think both of us kind of had some like spiral time toward the end of 2018, but we haven't been doing so much spiraling yet in 2019. So, so that's good. But we were kind of talking, and you can get into this if you'd like, but the concept of sort of the voice or the presence of depression sabotaging you even when you're doing well came up. I think for a lot of people that have struggled with depression for a long time, like I was saying earlier, it becomes part of your identity. And so when you're feeling either like complacent or happy or content or just a not bad emotion for too long, you'll get these kind of like little, like it's not exactly the voice, but you'll get something creeping up in you that feels like, okay, well, nothing bad has happened for too long. Something bad is going to happen now, because like my life is not a life that is good or even okay. And I think when what you talked about really resonated with me, because that happens to me all the time, where I'll be genuinely happy for a couple of days and even be like, oh, I'm not even really feeling like depression is still present, but I'm not really feeling the effects of depression for a couple of days. And so then like my brain will sabotage itself and be like, so here's some things you should feel bad about.
Yeah. What brought about this is, so me and Chris talk outside the podcast, and I need an opinion
about you guys,
about everyone out there, like even you. That's yeah. But so something popped up, and it was a weird thing, and it hasn't happened for a while. So to preference this, I've in depression sometimes you can run into like either imagery or things that like really trigger you, or things that you may not even know are triggering you, and you almost subconsciously start to sabotage yourself. And so for me, I have dreams, right? And I haven't had a certain dream in a while, and it recently surfaced, and it wasn't the fact that it surfaced that scared me. The dream itself, I've had it before, and it didn't like blow me away, like scared me. But what really did scare me was that it was happening at this moment, of where I'm trying to change how I'm like perceiving myself and trying to give myself some self-worth and things like that.
And you're sort of feeling good because you haven't
and I'm trying,
had the dream in a while or had thoughts like that in a while.
With positive people and all of my great friends and things like that and family. And so I'll walk this through it. So the dream that a recurring dream that I have is I'm in a place I don't know. And it doesn't look like it's a clean or great or bright place. It's a very dirty, dark, almost creepily scary place. It's very dark, and I'm in a group of people. And this group of people are all, and somehow I know this, we're all going to basically what the word, we are being euthanized. So we are being aided in like ending our lives. Everyone heads to I would guess a place of where everyone sits in sort of like a chair or like a it almost reminds me of like a dentist chair where like how it reclines and like that. So everyone, and I can see everyone, and I can see it's almost like a long hallway, and I see people like in a row, and like people like the nurse is going to each one, and everyone's happily accepting a syringe full of I don't know something to put them. They receive the shot, they lay back, and they drift away, I guess, and it comes to me, and the nurse is there and preparing the syringe and everything like that, but while with everyone else they've administered the shot, when it comes to me, I request to take the syringe and inject myself, right? And so they relent, they give me the syringe, I'm holding this syringe in my hand, and they mark off on my arm where I would need to inject, and the dream comes to a head where I'm there, they're staring at me, and a bunch of thoughts run through my head of like, you know, maybe I shouldn't do this, or maybe if I hide the syringe, or like maybe I stab the chair and pretend to inject myself, I can get out of this, or maybe I should pretend, or maybe I should do it. And there's like a bunch of these thoughts that run through my head of like at this whole time I'm just staring at the syringe and my arm, and that's the dream, and that's when I wake up. That's as much as I can remember. I know that there's other parts to it, but like I really can't remember what they are. They're very hazy, and it would almost sound like jargon in my head, but that's essentially the dream, and it's a recurring dream that I've had for quite some time. And when I had it happen, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I almost messaged you like right away. I was like, no, it's like 4 a.m. I don't want to like
I would have been awake playing Kingdom Hearts.
I didn't know that at the time, but it's a dream that I've had in the past, and in my darkest points, like I know why I've had that dream. Like I think that it's better to end. But what scared me the most wasn't the dream, but was the fact that I was having the dream in a point in my life right now where I'm trying to break the monotony of like the depression circle that I have, where it's constantly just spiraling out and then coming back and then spiraling out, and I'm trying to assert more positivity and surround myself with more positivity and trying to better myself. And I so far have had like a good time, you know, or not a good time, but like better days. And you know, and then I messaged you when it was a more reasonable time about like the dream, and you gave me your opinion on it and everything like that. But that's pretty much what brought about like the topic of like self-sabotage. And yeah, I mean that's the dream, the heavy dream that I recurringly have, and I haven't had it for some time. But opinions.
So yeah, what I told Jelani that my take on this is, and I'm not like a dream expert or anything, but for me it seemed kind of like if I had that dream and I hadn't had it in a while, and I had felt like, okay, I'm doing better, like I'm not perfect and I'm not healed, but I'm doing better these days, it would be really disturbing to suddenly have that dream kind of crop up in my life, and I would feel like, well, what is this a sign that I'm not as doing better as I thought I was, or like, why is this happening to me? Is this like a sign that something's wrong? And so I completely understand feeling, very concerned and sort of jarred and jolted out of the way that things felt like they were going. But I guess the way that I was looking at it was, well, maybe this dream is kind of just one giant intrusive thought. And intrusive thoughts are something I'm obviously very familiar with and happen to me constantly because of dealing with OCD and stuff like that. And a lot of depression, you'll have intrusive thoughts that are just like sad stuff, dark stuff, and all of that, because that's kind of just the space that your brain is like floating in. But it doesn't necessarily mean that, you're doing anything wrong or that things aren't going better for you. It is still just, it's that thing where you have to tell yourself it's just a dream, because even when you're an adult, dreams still feel so real. And when you're an adult, you unfortunately have the ability to overanalyze the dream and be like, this means something impactful, and like, this means something bad, But when I think about intrusive thoughts, I think about the concept of self-sabotage, where you're like, because you feel afraid to be doing well, your brain will kind of go, okay, well, here's an option. Don't be doing well. And so to me, I thought that the dream might be kind of that. And that's something that happens to me all the time, where if I'm starting to feel okay, my brain will be like, yeah, but you're not really an okay person. You're not really a happy person. So here's something unhappy that you're going to feel comfortable with because it's unhappy, and like, that's what you're used to. And it'll kind of just poke at you to be cruel. It was very jarring to have the dream. And while I've had it in the past, and I've come to terms with it being a recurring nightmare, if you will, I guess, if you want to call it something other than a dream, because it's not technically happy. It's a Yikesland dream, if you will. It's a Yike dream. Just the fact that, like, you're right. Overanalyzing something like this is something that, like, I have done in the past. I've always, like, come to terms with, like, looking at it. It was like, why doesn't it ever come to an end? Like, why isn't there a conclusion to it? Why does it stop? Like, why do I wake up when I'm holding it? Well, why do I wake up when all these thoughts are running through my head? Sure.
Like, which of the thoughts are the ones that were more loud? Were the ones where I was like, I should do it more loud, or were the ones that I'm saying not to do it and try and find a way and trick the nurse or something like that and get out of here more loud, which, like, and I've overcomplicated it many a times, in my head. And, of course, in the darkest of darkest, they were very harsh. But in a moment where, like, things might be okay, and things, and I'm trying, well, it's not easy, at all. It's very difficult, but continue to, like, I wouldn't say, like, I'm completely, like, fine, but I mean, I am trying to take steps to at least get to a manageable level with my depression. But the jarring thing was, of course, this popping up and it being like, is my brain trying to lull me back into its own, to the trap of, like, hey, you've been in this mode for so long, and you're trying to break from it. Here's a reminder of it, and here's a very dark reminder of it. I've had weird dreams before as well. I've had happy dreams as well before, but this one was just one that,
hits you
it hits me a lot, because I know that it's something that's popped up in the past, and it's one that I do remember, or not necessarily remember clearly, but I know that I've had the dream before. It's weird to explain it. Because when you most people don't remember their dreams, right, or nightmares. But having this dream, when I'm in the moment, it feels familiar. I've been here. I know this outcome. I know where we're going with this, and then fresh out of it, like, oh man, it was that thing again. But I don't remember when I had it in the past. I don't remember how many times I have it, but it feels like getting into a hot bath. Like it's very off-putting at first, and then it's like, I've been here before, and now I'm used to it.
Yeah.
And so it was just a weird thing, and you're saying that like it's not necessarily just not necessarily a bad thing. The mind self-sabotaging, trying to self-sabotage.
Yeah.
But
well, I think for dreams, especially that you've had before, that you feel like you've had before, part of the reason why they're so why they feel so strong is because, when you're in whatever we think reality is, like that's just how you're not really seeing light. Like you're seeing your brain's interpretation of what your eyes are seeing, rods and cones and all of that. So when you have a dream that you've had before, or that you feel like you have before, to your brain, it's like, well, what really is the difference then between this and like a real memory of reality? And your brain's going to experience both of those things sort of in the same way. And so I think for dreams that you've had before, that's why they can feel sort of like a genuine alternate reality that must exist, because if you've been there before and you can come back, then it must be real, and you might come back again, and it's always going to be there. Yeah. And so that can make those feelings and like the potency of the dream that much stronger.
Yeah. I mean, but there's also like, I'm using my example of the dream, but there's other examples of self-sabotaging and like wanting to like lull yourself back into that, while it's not a great place to be, but like almost like that comforting, warm, blanket of that depression. Like you need to. You feel so used to it. You feel so content in your depression that you feel hard. It feels hard to like leave it. But and when you're trying to pull away, it pulls at you, and it tries to pull you back. And I think like for everyone out there, like I don't know if everyone out there has recurring things or themes in their lives of it pulling you back in, but like I think that while this was very jarring, I will try and turn it into something positive. I think I will try and think of it as in a different way. It's difficult to like at first when I was awake and how jarring it was happening at this moment, and I'm thinking to myself, why did this come back? I'm trying to take steps. I'm trying to move away from certain darknesses, and it always comes back. And I think that it's always going to want to lull you back in, and I think that right now I can say that I'm trying to push away from it, and that I'm trying to move away from it as much as possible and keep myself at a distance from it. I think that I want to right now tell myself and be positive and believe that okay, this was a dark and very heavy thing that recurred again in your mind, but I want to believe that this dream and everything that I'm thinking of at that moment, that I'm pulling myself of like, maybe I don't want to use a syringe, maybe I don't want to fall back into the chair, maybe I don't want to be in that place anymore, so I'm hoping to like will myself away from that, and hopefully it helps out. I don't know, for you, do you have any occurrences of like self-sabotage for yourself that come up?
Yeah,
maybe not dreams necessarily.
Yeah, I don't have any recurring. I basically don't have any good dreams ever. I only ever have nightmares, but that's super normal to me. But for me, it is something that happens all the time, that if I'm starting to feel happy or even just content with something, or if I have a couple of good days in a row, I will try to ruin it for myself. And I think that something that you were saying earlier is a really good strategy for combating that kind of thing. Because I think that this especially happens to people who have been depressed for a long time, because the way that your brain works is you're just making pathways. And if you like tread the pathways over and over again super deeply, then those are going to feel like the most natural and most you things to do. Like if you think of yourself as a person that, you know, if you've gone your whole life without really consistently going to the gym, then you need to start a new pathway in your brain that's like, I'm a person who works out. And that's a hard pathway to start treading when there's nothing there. But if it's like you've been going to the gym your whole life, but then you kind of fall off for like a couple of months because you get sick or you get sad, you know, that's an easier bike to get back on. And so for people who've been depressed a lot and tend to think really negative thoughts, it's an easier bike to get back on, to think that things are bad or that the dream is real or that in the dream you would have gone through with it. And that's sort of where literally just tricking yourself or lying to yourself, and forcing yourself to do positive thinking and forcing yourself to believe that you are the type of person that wouldn't go through with it, or that is strong, or that is resilient, or that is happy. That can be a good trick for yourself to do. And like, will it solve everything? No. But the more times you go over and over those paths in your brain that are, okay, I can be happy. This stuff does make me happy. You know, I would have thrown the syringe away. I pronounced that wrong. I pronounced that weirdly. Syringe. Syringe. I've always said syringe secretly, and now it's coming out on this podcast.
It's fine. It's completely fine. I heard whatever you needed to say.
So the more times that you can think that stuff, you know, the stronger those paths are going to get. So I think what you were saying earlier about just thinking positive, you know, is it going to solve everything? No. And you're not going to be happy all the time, but building that stuff up and like treading those paths deeper and deeper, I think does help, because that means that when you need them, those paths are, you know, more present, and it doesn't require that much brush clearing to get back to it.
Trying to get there.
So
now for you say you don't have any good dreams. I mean, do you think that you don't have any good dreams, like for sure 100%, or do you think that like, oh, I just don't remember the good ones, I remember the bad ones?
I'm sure that I have, especially with my sleep schedule, which is hectic at best. I'm sure I don't remember a lot of my dreams, or sometimes I may legitimately not be getting to that part in the sleep cycle properly.
The REM.
But I primarily have bad dreams or stressful dreams, and I always have been that way. It takes, like, I remember when I was a kid and we had like winter break, if I was off from school for like a month, I would start to have neutral or okay dreams. But other than that, even when I was like a child in school, it would just be like stress dreams about tests, stress dreams about social situations at school.
Did you have the dream where you're like showed up to school like naked or late or something like that?
I was never naked, but I was like unprepared, which I think is the same in your head. It's the same thing as like showing up to school naked is the same as showing up, and mine would be showing up for a test that you didn't study for, or showing up and you're trying to take a test but you like can't remember anything. And so those are more the types of dreams that I have, and they happen all the time, but because they're sort of so short, they're visceral at the time, but it's not such a well-developed, realistic situation as yours is, which is sort of, I'm imagining it in like a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest style. You know, like the nurses have the little nurse hats and they're from the 50s.
Basically, it was a very jarring scene in my mind.
Or similarly, it could be like the background to like a sort of early 2000s Panic at the Disco or Fall Out Boy aesthetic situation where like isn't society blind because we're all lining up to take the syringe.
Yeah. I have such a weird brain, I guess. I don't know.
But so dreams aren't really the way that I tend to sabotage myself as much. It's really just, it's more for me intrusive thoughts all the time. So I can't even, I won't even necessarily like think of a specific example and get into it, but it'll just be that I'll be doing fine at work or in my relationship or when I was in school at school. And then I'll be thinking, should you really be doing this though? Are you sure this is the right thing to be doing? Or should you be doing something else? And for me, it's a lot of should language about as if there's like one true path that I'm supposed to be doing right now, which there is not. That's not how it works. And I know that in my conscious brain. But my subconscious is like, there's something you're supposed to be doing and this isn't it. And I think it's just trying to make me uncomfortable so that I'll go back to bed and just live my life under a blanket and do nothing, you know? And so I guess an exercise that I do is, okay, well, what if I listen to the voice? What's the outcome of me listening to the voice going to be? And the outcome is going to be me ending up in bed doing nothing and making no decisions, because just in case any of these decisions are wrong. And it's like, okay, well, then that's not, like, if that's the logical conclusion of me listening to that voice and I don't like that conclusion, then I shouldn't listen to that voice. But obviously it's hard because when they are things that play, you know, unless you take the time to sit down and think through it, there's lots of ways that you self-sabotage throughout the day. And I think that everybody self-sabotages throughout the day. That's why people make resolutions to go to the gym in January and then they accidentally don't go to the gym in February, you know? And I realize now that exercise was also supposed to be one of my resolutions that I talked about, which I just haven't even tried to do.
It's fine. The physical part, you know, as long as we're working on one part,
but
at least. Yeah,
it's like you can make a million. There's a million. I don't even want to call them excuses, because it's not like you're necessarily. It's not like you're bad or weak for listening to them. It's that it does take a lot of energy to create new pathways or to be treading fresh pathways in your brain, and you don't know one's brain has the energy to redo all of that at once. So it's kind of like you're redecorating the inside of a house and you're renovating it, but you have a limited budget. Mm-hmm. So like you can't be spending all, you know, if you spend all of your money in the kitchen, you're not going to have enough money for the bathroom, and you'll get more money over time, but this is the amount of money that you have, you know, at a given time. And it's like, this is the amount of willpower that you have at a given time, or attention that you have to give redecorating the space that is your brain and telling it like, okay, we don't have to live in this hellhole all the time. Bad things are going to happen, but you can build up new pathways and reserves that are more positive or more resilient than the ones that you were having before. So I guess to me, I'm looking at your dream and I'm saying, well, try not to take the dream as a sign that anything's wrong or that you're doing a bad job. Try to see it as maybe just a natural, like if you inhale some dust, you're going to sneeze. It's sort of your body's natural reaction to the fact that you're doing okay right now, but you know, your immune system is like, your immune system still remembers the bad stuff and will try to attack a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean,
and I don't know if that's the right answer, but if it helps you, take it, right?
Sure. and like when you describe like you falling into the thinking traps and constantly like, when you were describing everything, like when you describe your falling into like, oh, but you know, you shouldn't be doing this or anything like that. Like you do like this, you physically do this thing was like, but you shouldn't be doing this. Where you almost, I in my mind, I think I'm calling her like Nega Chris or something like that. Where she'll like leak out a little bit, where it's like it's like your evil doppelganger in you, where it's like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, she's like a cool, sexy goth girl that's like smoking behind the bleachers at school, and like she's a bad influence and you shouldn't hang out with her, but she's doing everything in her power to sound good so that you do listen to her and do the stuff she says, but like don't do it.
Yeah.
You're gonna get suspended.
Yeah, and I would hope that, like, you know, when you fall into the self-sabotage, that like you can picture like super nega Chris popping up and just like saying these things that are in your mind. And I would hope that like perhaps like maybe you can turn it into a positive thing as well, where if someone was talking trash to you, like, would you talk trash back? You know, like, oh, you can't tell me what to do, you know, or you know, screw off, nega Chris, you know, just maybe just say it, right? Just yell it out. See what happens. Who knows? Maybe that's not the answer you're looking for, but hey, you know, if it helps, you know, there's different ways of thinking, you know.
Yeah.
And hopefully you can combat nega Chris. I like nega Chris now. It's the evil super goth, just like, you shouldn't be doing this.
She's like ripped jeans for no reason.
Ripped jeans. And not in the normal places too. It's like just like maybe like it's just weird spots, like the pockets like ripped for some reason.
Yeah.
It's not the knee.
Yeah, but she carries a pocket knife at school, which you're not supposed to do.
And she's always like doing the flips, with it, like opening it and then closing it. And then
for no reason.
It and closing it.
She has a lot of piercings.
Yeah. She has an endless cigarette. But you know, I think that like you can positively will some of the self-sabotaging away, you know, maybe not all of it.
She's so sexy though. I don't know, I'm tempted now. It's rough. No.
It's pretty tempting, I know, but you know, hey,
she seems cool.
She seems so cool.
Maybe I should listen to her.
But I think you maybe you won't be able to resist it all the time, but maybe some of the time.
Yeah.
You know? I think we can both get there, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully. Who knows?
Yeah.
Any
we just have to make a
something?
better bicycle.
Yeah. Learn to ride the bike a different way. You know,
like backwards or with a horn or streamers or something. I don't know.
maybe your bicycle's broken. Just use one wheel. Unicycle it. You know, find a different way.
We've really gone rogue with this bicycle metaphor.
Yes, we have.
I had never made it a strong metaphor to begin with. But. And on that note,
any final thoughts on the self-sabotage?
I resolve to get better at bicycle metaphors. That's for sure.
For sure.
But no, I think that it's just, you can't blame yourself. See, if you blame yourself for the self-sabotage, that's also going to be bad, because then you're going to go down the negative pathways again.
For sure.
So it's tricky to deal with. And in a way, you almost have to acknowledge it, but ignore it. Like a toddler that is sort of misbehaving, but it's not in a really critical way where you have to stop them. They're like misbehaving for attention, and you almost have to ignore them and only give your attention to the toddler that's doing good stuff, so that other toddler will be like, okay, I should also do the good stuff, and that's how I get attention. So it's almost like a thing where you like, for me at least, if I don't give attention to the bad pathways or even the self-sabotage pathways, like that's the best way that I can deal with it, is to just sort of be like, I see what it's doing, but then coldly ignore it and only give attention to like the positive influences in my life.
I think the best thing that we can say about the self-sabotaging things, that if you are aware that it is self-sabotaging, you know, that you're aware that the thinking is a self-sabotaging norm for you, or for me, maybe the visions, my dreams, I don't know. Maybe if they're a self-sabotaging way and I'm aware of it and made clear of like, okay, this is my mind, it's battling back from me, trying to pull away. Maybe react the opposite way you normally would, you know? Maybe there's a different way. You know,
just be like, I see,
what's our normal way? No, I just want to go back to bed and just like roll up and just like, I believe you, nega Chris.
But you can just be like, brain, I see what you're doing, but I'm not going to fall for it.
Yes. Yes. Do the James Bond villain turn. It was like, it was me the whole time, depression. I've tricked you. You thought you could get me. No. But, yeah. What are you guys' thoughts on that? You know, do you guys have self-sabotaging ways? You know, how do you deal with it if you're able to? You know, and if not, like, what are some ways that you think that you self-sabotage your way back into the lull of the depression? You know, let us know. You know, send us an email, yikesland@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys. If you guys got any topic or questions or anything like that, we'd love to hear you from there as well. That's yikesland, one word, @gmail.com. So send us an email. You know, we want to hear from you folks out there, you know, and anybody who's watching us. We want to connect with you guys, and we want to make sure that we're building something that is at least helpful to at least one person out there, you know. And I think that, like, this podcast has positively affected both of us, like, in a way where we were able to, like, talk about it at least on a weekly basis as much as we can. I mean, I know that we've missed a little bit here and there, and we do apologize about that, but, you know, winter storms come up. But we want to connect with you guys as much as possible and as much as we can. So please spread the word for us, guys. Tell people about us on Twitter @Yikesland, Facebook @Yikesland, Instagram @Yikesland_podcast. If you want to follow us there and see our cool pics and things we do, you know, we'll try and get better about, you know, doing some stuff. That was one of your resolutions. Be more on. Have you done that?
No, I've done a bad job in that I forgot about that resolution.
It's okay. It's all right. Well, I reminded you, and now we reiterate. It's lunar. Lunar
New Year. Yeah. We both have really bad depression memory.
Yeah, we have really bad memories.
It's super bad.
Yeah. So, Chris, if someone out there is feeling on the edge or very close to self-harm, where can they go to seek help?
You guys can reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's totally confidential. It's free. They're available 24/7, even when it's cold outside. And you can reach at 1-800-273-8255. It's 1-800-273-8255.
And I know the hardest thing, like, if you're on the edge, like, you think you don't need help, but then sometimes you just need someone to talk to, right? And hopefully us relating with each other and us talking with you guys and trying to get you guys to relate with things that we're going through can help you guys at least talk with anybody. You know, if you can't find someone, then this is a great service to at least talk to somebody, you know, because, again, like you said, it's free, it's confidential, and it's in place to help you guys out if you are on edge. And we want to make sure that you guys make it to every Tuesday with us, because it is Tuesday, and every Tuesday with you guys here with us is a great day, and we wouldn't want to see you not with us. So This has been your host, Johnny Hu
and Chris Fung.
Thank you guys so much, and hopefully you guys are enjoying the views from Yikesland, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Bye guys. Thanks for listening.